We're going to be diving deep in synthesizing literally thousands of years of human insight. We're talking everything from ancient Vedic mindfulness to the modern psychology of routines and the behavioral science of habit loops. The goal here? We are building a cohesive, foolproof toolkit for mastering modern life. So if you've ever felt totally swamped by the sheer volume of decisions you have to make every single day, you are in exactly the right place.
Here is our roadmap for the journey today. First up, the storm of modern life. 2. The anchor of mindfulness. 3. The architecture of certainty. 4. The science of habit loops. And finally, number 5, mastering your daily practice. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The storm of modern life and cognitive overload.
Okay, let's kick things off with a question that really gets right to the heart of what we all deal with nowadays. Have you ever felt like your mind is just this ceaseless whirl of notifications, obligations, and worries? Or, on the flip side, have you ever looked at someone who eats the exact same breakfast every single morning at 7:15 a.m. on the dot and thought, man, they're so rigid and unimaginative? Well, today, we are going to validate that feeling of total overwhelm you have, and we're going to completely flip your perspective on those so-called boring, rigid habits.
See, we're basically fighting a constant battle between two states of mind. On one side, you have the monkey mind. This is a whirlwind of chaotic, restless thoughts, swinging wildly from past regrets all the way to future anxieties. It's exhausting, right? But on the other side, we have equanimity. Ancient traditions teach us that right beneath those chaotic waves of the monkey mind, there's a capacity for profound inner stillness. It's a steady, watchful mind that experiences way less internal conflict, no matter what crazy external circumstances are thrown your way. But to get from that left side to the right side, we need an anchor.
Which brings us to Section 2. The anchor of mindfulness and the power of presence.
Wandering around inside your own head can honestly feel exactly like walking through a really dense, foggy labyrinth. We stumble, we lose our way, and doubt inevitably creeps in. Mindfulness acts as a beacon in that fog. At its core, mindfulness is really just about paying highly precise attention to the present moment without reflexively judging whatever happens to show up. It's not about magically escaping the fog. It's about navigating it with this sense of calm and curiosity. You're observing your thoughts without being completely swept away by them.
Actually, let's zoom out to an even grander metaphor for a second. Think of your mind like a vast cosmos of swirling thoughts, emotions, and sensations. They're like stars constantly igniting and fading out. Mindfulness allows you to literally step back from that cosmic dance. Instead of being a tiny speck of dust being tossed around by the gravitational pull of all your worries, you become the ultimate conscious observer. You get to witness the grandeur of your own mind without getting absorbed by the chaos. So the big question is, how do we apply this inner stillness to our chaotic external world? Well, this quote from the Bhagavad Gita nails it. It was spoken to Arjuna, who was a great warrior totally overwhelmed by the horrors of a battlefield. It essentially teaches detachment from the outcome. And we actually see this exact same mindfulness mirrored in modern pop culture. Think about Natasha Romanoff, the Black Widow in the Marvel Universe. In the midst of a literally crumbling world, she grounds herself not in despair, but in her present purpose. Both Arjuna and Natasha use mindfulness to just focus in and perform their duty amidst extreme chaos.
So how do we actually train this superpower? Well, meditation is the tool, and it progresses through 5 distinct levels. First up, grounding. This is using a simple, consistent sensory anchor, like your breath. Number 2 is mastering the senses. You learn to become an observer of sensory input rather than instantly reacting to it. Third is awakening energy, which is focusing inward on the body's energy centers or chakras. Fourth, we have the cosmic connection, transcending that individual self. And finally, number 5, the manifestation of will. This is where the mind, which is now completely still, becomes this incredibly powerful tool for intentional creation. This is exactly how we systematically build that attentional stability.
Moving on to Section 3, the architecture of certainty and the hidden value of routine.
Here's a crucial fact. Unpredictability is biologically expensive. Your brain treats uncertainty like a low-grade alarm system, constantly burning through energy just scanning for threats. So when someone orders the exact same coffee every single day or takes the exact same route to work, they aren't being unimaginative, not at all. They're actually engaging in a quiet engineering project designed to keep the floor from moving beneath them. They're deliberately reducing their cognitive load. And there's some really fascinating biological reality behind this.
A recent study out of UC Davis actually found that people with anxiety disorders had choline levels roughly 8% lower in their prefrontal cortex compared to healthy individuals. Now, the prefrontal cortex is heavily involved in making decisions. To put that into perspective, anxiety literally depletes the brain chemistry you need to feel safe making choices. So building a highly predictable routine isn't just some quirky personality trait. It is a vital, necessary, biological adaptation to a world that constantly drains our chemical resources.
Which leads to a pretty massive realization. Eating the exact same breakfast every morning is not laziness, it is conservation. Every single choice you remove from your morning routine is a choice that doesn't draw down your limited daily budget of attention. You're building a buffer. You're basically resolving a past investigation so you don't have to spend precious energy deciding all over again today.
All right, Section 4, the science of habit loops and how to build better behaviors.
If we want to build those amazing energy-saving routines we just talked about, we need to understand the mechanics. According to behavioral expert James Clear, every single habit operates on a 4-step loop: cue, craving, response, and reward. And without a doubt, the most vital part of starting any new behavior, the spark that lights the whole engine, is that very first step, the cue, or the trigger.
Practically speaking, there are 5 primary cues you can use to trigger a new habit. There's time, like deciding to write every Monday morning. Location, like walking into the gym and standing in the exact same spot to warm up every time. A preceding event, this is known as habit stacking, like saying one thing you're grateful for the absolute second you sit down for dinner. Your emotional state, like using the feeling of stress to immediately trigger a deep breathing exercise. And finally, other people, simply recognizing that who you are with is a massive trigger for your behaviors.
But here is the catch. For a cue to actually work, it has to be incredibly specific. A broad goal like, I will do 10 push-ups at lunch, almost always fails because it's just too vague. I mean, does that mean the beginning of lunch, the middle, the end? Instead, you need an actionable cue that says, when I close my laptop for lunch, I will do 10 push-ups. Closing the laptop is an immediate, physical, undeniable trigger. There is absolutely no mistaking when that habit loop should kick off. Finally, Section 5. Mastering your daily practice by synthesizing these pillars.
So we pull this whole shebang together with this beautiful ancient Sanskrit mantra, Yoga Staha Kuru Karmani. It essentially means performing your duties while completely abandoning your attachment to success or failure. It's the ultimate expression of actionless action. When you combine that internal anchor of mindfulness with the external framework of specific, triggered habits, you start to find joy in the effort itself. You're no longer obsessing over the final outcome, and your daily life truly becomes a steady, moving meditation.
When you really look closely at someone who has mastered their mind and their environment, you start to see this exact truth. Inside the predictability of that morning porridge, the familiar driving route, and those specific habit triggers is a person who has deliberately built themselves a floor that does not move. They don't just survive, they thrive amidst the storm of modern life because they've engineered their very own sanctuary of certainty.
Which leaves us with one pretty massive question for you to chew on today. What small architecture of certainty are you going to build today to calm your monkey mind? Is it going to be a specific habit trigger tied to a preceding event? Or maybe just 5 minutes of focusing on your breath to observe your inner cosmos? The tools are entirely in your hands. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time.